Good afternoon. It's once again Friday at 5:30 in the p.m. And this is your host for the next 25 minutes of Hotline 21, the most interactive television show in town, Congressman Danny Davis. You know, I've had a fantastic week. I always try to begin these weeks and discussions, but we had some serious action in the committee that I serve on in Ways and Means in the House. And we were dealing with serious issues that I have a great deal to do with and that my committee has jurisdiction over. And being the ranking member, that means that I kind of become the spokesperson for those issues. Of course, we lost, as we sometimes do. We usually do. But I'm here to talk today about two of my favorite subjects. One is well-being, both mentally and physically. And well-being mentally suggests to me that you ought to have some connection with somebody bigger than you and I. Who made the sun? Who made the sky? Somebody bigger than you and I. That means that there is some force in the universe. I just call it Almighty God. That can kind of make it rain, make the sun shine, make the moon go down in blood, all kinds of things. So that obviously says we're going to be talking about religion to some degree and the impact of it. And I am delighted to have with me the wife of one of our outstanding ministers in the Chicagoland area. And they've done something that I think is just over the top, just outstanding, because they are using their positions and what they do for the benefit of others. So I'm going to ask my guest if she would go ahead and introduce herself while I turn this phone off.
So hello, everyone. My name is LaToya Ledbetter. I am the First Lady of the historic Mount Pisgah Missionary Baptist Church. It is located in 46th and King Drive in Bronzeville. My husband is Pastor Ernest Ledbetter III, and we are really excited to be able to speak with you regarding our initiative today.
Now, the Ledbetters have a long history
Yes, sir.
in religious circles and activities in Chicago, dating way back before I ever got here. I mean, and of course, Pastor Ledbetter over on the west side at one time.
That's right.
Was not only, one of the biggest churches, but also was an outstanding pulpiteer that people, he was a great message giver. And sometimes when I first came to Chicago, that church on West Washington Boulevard would be filled, both the balcony and the main auditorium. And there would just be people there. Oh my God. You just get mesmerized when you went in. And of course, we know that we've lost a lot of population in areas. Of course, that area in particular has lost population because it used to be right in the heart of the Henry Horner public housing development. There were lots of people there, and I tell you, it was exciting. Now tell us what you and your sisters have done and what you're doing.
Yes. So you were referring to my husband's grandfather, and so now he's the third. And so I'm married to the grandson of the Ledbetters. And we, along with 54 other churches this year, will be engaging in what we call the First Lady's Health Initiative. That is going to be held this Sunday, September 17th, and it'll be all across Chicago, as far west as Westchester and as far south as Dixmoor. And there will be plenty of churches in between. We will all do free health fair screenings at all of our locations. We'll be at various times during the day, so you just find a church that is closest to you. But the duration of the health fair will be from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. this Sunday, September 17th.
So in addition to the messages, I thought you were just going to be, preaching about health and how important it was. And, Jesus met the woman at the well. She was sick. And the other woman, that ran up and just said, if I could just touch the hem of his garment. I like the way that song is written by some people. There was a woman in the Bible days who had been sick for so very long. She had spent all of her money.
Yes, sir.
And then she heard that Jesus, this guy, was coming through. And she said, if I could just touch the hem of the garment. So in addition to the messages, you're also going to actually have health fairs at all of these churches?
Oh, yes. Yes. So it's the really cool part about this event is that our husbands are all very engaged. Some will preach in scrubs. Some will, show their support by taking tests themselves. But we essentially open each one of our churches to become a health fair clinic on that day. So it will be 54 churches and will be located within 47 sites around the city. And we will all be doing free health fair screenings. So that includes blood pressure, glucose, HIV, hepatitis, flu shots, any major preventable illness we'll be covering. We'll do a lot of educational materials and training for prostate and breast cancer. And we'll even have a kids pavilion, which we're also excited about, with bouncy houses and face painters. So we want to get all of the family involved, and we want them to see health in our community.
And I would hope that this also raises church attendance. I'm saying a person may come for the health fair, and they may hear somebody in there singing, or they may hear a good message being provided, and decide, I came for one thing, but I'm going to stick around for something else. And so, I go way back in terms of church. I mean, I often say that whatever it is that I do today, I wouldn't be doing it if it had not been for the church. I'm saying I grew up in rural America. There were only 8 people in my graduating class when I graduated from high school. We only went to school 5 months a year. But I tell you, on Sunday afternoons, we had something called KYB. It stood for Know Your Bible. And we would have so much fun because we learned all about Black history. We learned to read, some of us, because the Bible was the only book that we really had that much access to. And so you just learned, we looked forward. We couldn't wait for 5 o'clock to come, because 5 to 7, that's when we'd have our thing. And then, of course, 7 o'clock evening service would begin. Let's see, we got a caller on the air, on the phone. Caller, are you still there?
Yeah, how you doing, Congressman Davis?
James, I'm doing good. How are you?
Okay, I got 2 comments. Now, I don't think it's over with the terrorists, and I don't think it's over with God. And Congressman Davis. Now,
Yes.
God sent all this other stuff, and it's still attacking the other country. But Congressman Davis, and when you gonna have some more events, like the lady has said, your guest has said?
Well, God works in mysterious ways, I was taught, his wonders to behold. And so many of the things that people do, they are inspired. For example, I'd much rather have a surgeon operate on me who didn't partake too much of strong drink, and 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 he and another surgeon might have the same skills, but I think if he was divinely guided, I just feel much better. And so I think what my guest is saying, she is saying that if people will do their part of looking after their health, I maintain that health is wealth. That you can have all the money in the world. You can have all the Mercedes-Benz cars, all of the material things. But if you are sick and not feeling good, these things don't really take care of your needs. So I think you need a combination of both. And I just applaud them for how they are using the fact that they are first ladies at these many institutions to draw other people. I read something in the Bible about being lifted up, and you would draw.
Amen.
So I guess if the ladies are lifted up, they will draw all of these people into church so that they can also get health screening, so they can get mammograms, so they can deal with the concept of early detection, and they're going to make everybody healthy.
That's right.
Because so goes the women of our community, so goes the community.
And then my other comment, when you gonna have some more events. But I think God is getting tired about all this other stuff on earth, because that's why he let things happen with Mother Nature. And the terrorists is getting tired too, Colonel David.
Well, I think that the terrorists will get tired before God will. And, the book of Revelation talks about the end of time. But I'm hoping that that time will be after I'm gone. So thanks so much for calling. Let's try our other caller. Caller, are you there? Yes, caller, are you there?
Yes, I am, Congressman Davis. This is Ray.
Yes, go right ahead.
I gotta say one thing first. You're looking mighty spiffy again.
Well, today is Friday.
Well, you look twice as spiffy today.
All right.
Week. Okay, I wanted to know if you found out any information about what I suggested for Dick Gregory Day here in Chicago. And then I wanted to say, what they're going to tax next? Candy? Potato chips? Because that ain't too good for you either. But anyway, I just want to make sure about Dick Gregory Day. I'll wait for that.
All right. Thank you very much. Dick Gregory, of course, renowned. I had the good fortune to know him well and spent some time with him. One weekend, he and I and a woman named Minnie Jean Brown spent the weekend down at Southern Illinois University at a black alumni. Dick Gregory went to Southern for his undergraduate school, and Minnie Jean Brown, who was one of the Little Rock Nine, also went to SIU. And so we were there, and the real deal is Dick Gregory kept us up the whole weekend. We never got any sleep because he was talking and always had something else to say. But he was a great one, and we're going to miss him, but we've benefited so much from having him. Mrs. Ledbetter, let me ask you, are there any sponsors and people like that and all who are helping to have available what is necessary in order to put on this gigantic health fair, I'm calling it, 54 churches? That's a lot of health education information, a lot of awareness. Who's helping you?
Yes, so that's a great question. Of course, with a health fair this big, we have to have a lot of help. Because what most people assume is when we say health fair, we mean a couple locations. but we're essentially saying all 54 locations will be doing our health fair on the same day. So of course we have to have tons of volunteers. So this year we have close to 900 volunteers that will be coming out across all of these locations.
I mean, tell you, if just 900 people got healthy themselves,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that would be enough reason to have it, but 900 volunteers.
900 volunteers. Oh, yes, sir. And Walgreens is a huge support. They are our main sponsor. So they provide a lot of the help. They are going to make sure that there is a Walgreens pharmacist at every church that is participating. So every church is going to have blood pressure and flu shots. In addition, we have tons of other medical companies, hospitals, providers around the area, students and nurses from Rush and UIC and Harmony and WellCare and Holy Cross and St. Bernard.
All
Pretty
right.
much most of the major hospitals and companies here in Chicago will be helping us.
You
on that day.
mentioned Rush, and I just met the other day with Dr. Kim, who is the chief
Right.
of cardiology at Rush, and he and a group of his cardiologist friends and associates were lobbying in talking about health care
Yes.
just this past week. So there must be partnerships going on where all of these people are kind of coming together. And I can imagine, we talked about your husband's grandfather, but also the former pastor of Mount Pisgah
Yes.
was also one of those war horses, as they call them, pouring in the valley.
That's right, Pastor
Because
Joseph Wales.
Yeah, he Joseph Wells. He had an outstanding legacy and a long tenure, and was renowned just as Reverend Ledbettter.
That's right.
Yeah, so
That's
you
right.
all are engaged with a whole lot of history.
That's right.
Yes, indeed, and you're keeping it going. That's what's important. I always suggest that many people think of history. They think of his story. That's how I learned to read, separating words. His story. So I encourage us and the young pastors and the pastors who have come after some of these lions have gone, they are creating mystery. My story. You know, it's good to talk about his story and what he did and what they did. But think of all the wonderful things that you ladies are doing right now. It's a new era of leadership. It's a new era of engagement. It's a new era of involvement. And I certainly just compliment you on how you're making great use of yourselves. Where I grew up, there were two big events that would take place in community, you know. Church would have its anniversary. Then the Masons and Eastern Stars would have their turnout day.
Right.
And the Masons and Eastern Stars, they would walk down the road, you know, like in a march. And they'd be trying to keep the dust from getting off those great things they were wearing. But church is still church. I mean, the one thing, as we look at the history of this country, that African Americans have owned consistently and had control over was, in fact, our religious institutions, our churches, where we could go and find refuge. So if there were people out there who weren't prepared to come and be a part of all this stuff, tell them why, again, they need to come and partake.
Yes, so we really want to encourage everyone to be a part of this, all members of your family. This is a really important day. It's the chance to show our major healthcare corporations who are giving us the help that we really will use this within our communities, especially in both the African American and Hispanic communities. We actually have 2 Latina churches in. So we have our all of our brown sisters together. But it's very important because, like the Congressman said, we want to make sure that our communities and our congregations are healthy. Because if you're healthy and you live a long life, then we can not only make sure that you're good on the physical side, but then we as a church can cater to your spiritual side as well. So it all goes full circle. We just want to make sure that we provide the resources. And what better place than church? You know that the pastor and the first lady, as we are called, will have the best interest for you. And we're going to put you in a place, a safe place, and make sure that you feel comfortable as you screen. This is something that will ultimately save your life, you and your family, and we just want to put it out there. Us as first ladies, sometimes we are behind the scenes, behind the pastor, and this is a great initiative because it allows the wives of pastors that are well known across the city to stand up and help their community and their churches for a great cause.
Well, my grandfather was a minister. Unfortunately, I never got to know him. And, of course, I was always told that my grandmother wasn't behind him, that she was in front of him, leading him. Well, you know, we always have these jokes. And my father used to tell this joke about, and I don't think he would have been old enough to have known because he was very young when his father died. But that his father was up preaching one Sunday, and that his mother came into church just as he was kind of hitting stride, and she said, "Don't believe him. Say he's not telling the truth. Say, wonder where he was at 3 o'clock this morning. I don't think he was reading his Bible." So my father his father said, "Man, say, don't do that." Say, please. No, one thing we were a fun, loving kind of family. I mean, both my parents were seriously religious. My father was known as the guy who could really do public praying.
All right.
And every place and the interesting thing is that many of us remember and can recite his prayers today.
Wow.
A friend of mine, Reverend Cleophas Todd, who grew up in a church on the south side, he's just say that my father taught him how to pray just by listening. So any last words you want to say to our viewers?
Yes, please, as I mentioned, come on out and join us. We have 47 actual locations, 54 churches. If you need to find a location near you, go to firstladieshealth.com. That's firstladieshealth.com, and they will give you a section of participating churches here in Chicago. Ours is 1 to 4 if you want to come visit us in Bronzeville at 46th and King Drive.
And just know that the only people who don't like what they're doing might be the graveyard keepers, because they're keeping you away from there. It's been a pleasure. Always is. Enjoy life. Help yourself. And you'll even enjoy it better if you help somebody else. We'll see you next week.